Um, and just as a reminder, I've been doing this for a couple of months, relatively new to it. But I haven't come across anything by Byron Katie addressing this in her books, and I just was wondering what your thoughts are as well. And the topic is it good to go back and reread your, past judge your neighbor worksheets, or if you're stressed, is it better to just do another one, as opposed to being like, well, I know I've done this one a bunch of times and let me see what the evolution of it is and try to remind myself, what the turnarounds were. And just in general about going back and, or even like, I don't know if you've ever thought about keeping a list of like your most relevant turnarounds or I know Baron Katie says live your turnarounds and just kind of, anything in that kind of ballpark there.
Okay, yeah, it's a great question, and it's something that comes up from time to time. Uh, the way I like to do it is to let the work work me, and then whatever happens inside, it's kind of an experience that happens when I do the work. It changes something inside of me, usually on a heart level when I'm doing the work. And so what I usually like to do is just kind of after doing the work, forget about the work, forget about the paper that I was doing, and just go back into the world and see how I do in similar situations. Let's just give it the acid test and see what's left, and life will show you. It always does. So I kind of let life be my my archivist, my librarian. I let life tell me what's still to go, what needs to be worked, what's already done. And so that way I don't have to kind of hold this inventory of worksheets and kind of keep checking back to see if how I'm doing. You can, and I know people that do. It's not bad. It's just for me, the work is experiential. It's not like studying in school. It's not like where you're learning something and you have to go back and review your notes, and that will make it even stronger, and that will make it, you'll learn the material better if you keep reviewing. That's what you do when you're in school. But with the work, we're in a kind of different kind of school. It's a Instead of a school of learning, we're in the school of unlearning. So you can you don't have to keep repeating what you learned, because if you're reviewing constantly, it's often from a more intellectual point of view. It's like, okay, I'm trying to memorize something. But in the work, I'm not trying to memorize something. I'm trying to experience something differently. And so each time I sit and do the work, it's an opportunity for me to go through this process and possibly experience the same situation in a different way. Now, I can take the same old worksheet I did from, you know, weeks ago or years ago, and I can do that work again today. But if I take it as like a fresh new beginning and just work it as if I'd never worked it before, I'm going to find different insights and it's going to be a different experience. So the key word is experience. When I'm doing the work, it's an experience. When I'm reading and rereading or kind of trying to remember what my insights were, I'm I'm using more of a memory or intellectual capacity. It's not as much from an experience point of view. I'm remembering an experience. That's the difference. One is to experience something, and the other is to remember the experience of something. Of the two, experiencing something is number one. Remembering an experience of something can help a little, but it's not the same. So yes, in general, I do the work. I work through a worksheet as thoroughly as I want to, and then I let it go and I don't really revisit it. That's just my way. Um, you could go back and after a time see, oh, is that still bothering me? It might be a way of looking at it, but personally, I don't. Um, On the other hand, you mentioned like living turnarounds, which are things that you can actually do in real life. And yes, I've heard Byron Katie mention this, and sometimes I've done this, and I know other clients have done this. I don't do it too often, but sometimes I will actually write down the living turnaround. And if I know I'm going into a situation, I might have that as my little cheat sheet of options that I could pull out in a pinch. More often than not, though, I don't even do that. I just want to go back into the situation without any extra support or paraphernalia and just see how I do. And then if I get stressed again, I'm going to write a new Judge Your Neighbor worksheet. So I tend personally to write my worksheets as they come up in real life. I sit down, I'm like, what am I going to work on today? And sure enough, there it is. Or I'm living my life and something stresses me, and I think, oh, I know I've worked this before, but this is going to be a good worksheet. The cool thing about the situation that came up today is it's a different situation, similar but different from the original one that I worked. And sometimes the insights can be slightly different. The wording may be slightly different when I write my worksheet. And so I just tend to take it fresh each time and then trust that life is going to give me what I need. And that's pretty much where I leave it. The problem with like worrying about all of the past worksheets is it can become quite an archive if you do the work a lot. It can be like you're going to need a librarian to keep track of all the different worksheets you've done and different stressful thoughts. And it can become like a cataloging project rather than just, okay, something that passed through and I'm done. And then what else is coming down the pipeline? And then just keep dealing with it one after the other. Um, yeah, so that's my approach. I keep it simple, and I just trust that life's going to show me what shows up next. And how do I know what needs to be worked? Maybe I've worked 1,000 times this thing, but if it got me again, it means I still don't quite have it. I still don't quite see it. And so I trust that. I trust my stress to show me what to work next.